I miss YouTube Rewind. I miss waiting for what that year's YouTube Rewind would look like. I miss guessing what moments YouTube would decide is gonna be part of that year's Rewind. What songs would be part of the mega mix. I miss that at the end of the year, no matter how good or bad that year's Rewind ended up being, we all would gather around and wait for the Rewind to drop and have a community discussion about it. And I'm feeling that now more than ever. And the worst part, it didn't have to be this way. The last YouTube Rewind came out 6 years ago. Let that sink in for a bit. The last time we got to talk about a year-ending event from YouTube was in 2019. And by that time, it was a shell of its former self. It's kind of poetic in a way, isn't it? The first YouTube Rewind started as a top 10 list, counting the most viewed, the most liked videos in that year of YouTube. And it ended in 2019 as a top 10 list, counting the most viewed, most liked, most appreciated videos of that year. The concept of YouTube Rewind is so interesting. And in the early years, they really did capture the essence of rewinding a whole year. With the YouTube community, your favorite creators front and center. But somewhere along the line, they just completely lost the plot. By 2017 and 2018, YouTube Rewind became so hated that every year it would break its own record of being the most disliked video on the platform. And that is the most likely reason why YouTube ended up just removing the dislike button entirely from their whole platform. It's not a good look when the one video you create a year celebrating your platform gets hit with 20 million dislikes. Instead of finding a solution for this, a different format, a different way to do Rewind, they just burned the house down with their children inside it. So what happened? How did it reach this point? How did it go from a celebration of YouTube to the bloated mess that it became towards its tail end? Well, that's what I was kind of thinking. I got recommended PewDiePie's take on the 2018 YouTube Rewind, and it got me reminiscing, like an old man on his rocking chair on the front of his porch, just reminiscing about when life was good. So I really wanted to go back and rewatch all the YouTube Rewinds and just see kind of the downfall. How did we get to this point? And as I was searching for them, they're gone. YouTube deleted all of the YouTube Rewinds off their platform. Not even unlisted. They're either privated or deleted. I even went on YouTube's official channel to see if it's like hidden somewhere over there. And when I sorted by most popular, their most popular video is a video where they broke the metadata somehow and it doesn't even have views or anything. Apparently they can just do that. But the YouTube Rewinds being deleted did not stop me. Using my immense hacker skills, I managed to download every single YouTube Rewind straight from YouTube servers, just so I could rewatch and reminisce with you guys.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning.
2010's Rewind was something. It's not what we're used to seeing when we think of the term YouTube Rewind. Basically, this video is a glorified Watch Mojo video. I don't have much to say about this one. We got Bedroom Intruder, we got Annoying Orange, and for all the people who started complaining about late night hosts taking up a bunch of time in the later YouTube Rewinds, it started in the first YouTube Rewind they ever did. Late night hosts have always been an integral part of YouTube. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's up to you. 2011 was the actual start of YouTube Rewind. You can see the concept of a YouTube Rewind start to take shape with this one, with our host being Rebecca Black, which for those who don't know, was the most hated person on the internet in 2011. All because of releasing a song that was cringe. The internet was ruthless back then. This girl was known for years as the girl who made the Friday song, until she ended up falling off the face of the earth for a few years. She's now one of the biggest hyperpop artists and goes around to these EDM festivals and is somewhat headlining them. Odd pivot, but I'm here for it. Now, this did end up being just another top 10 video, but it was scored to Levels by Avicii and had a pretty cool compilation in the beginning showing all the cool moments that happened in 2011 YouTube. And the #1 video of the year in 2011 was Friday by Rebecca Black. This video was dislike bombed because of the host being Rebecca Black, so it's a tradition as old as YouTube Rewind. One thing I can say about this rewind and all rewinds is that at least they're pretty cool time capsules of what that year in YouTube kind of looked like. YouTube was significantly tinier at this time. In 2011, the monthly active users was roughly around 500 to 800 million users. Compare that to today, where the daily active users is crossing 2 billion. The human mind can literally not properly comprehend the concept of a billion, a single billion, and there's 2 of them, or sometimes even 3, on a daily basis on this platform. But with that being said, with Friday being the #1 most hated song on YouTube at that time, it meant that the whole platform knew about the song Friday by Rebecca Black and was hating on it. No, not one pocket. All of YouTube, every single user at least heard about Friday by Rebecca Black. That literally cannot happen in this day and age with how huge YouTube is, how much it's ballooned in size. Anyways, it was pretty boring. Next one.
Orange Nanya style.
I gotta say, first and foremost, this one took me back. Like, I felt the true definition of nostalgia watching this one back. Like, not even kidding, at some points I had goosebumps from watching this one back. Where were you when YouTube took over its own website in 2012 to advertise the 2012 Rewind? This is the first true Rewind, and there's already so much to talk about. So much. With this being the first true YouTube Rewind, that meant that they got most of the top creators of that year and created this giant collab video. This rewind somehow doesn't come off as cringe and actually comes off as a true celebration of YouTube. We open up with a Kony 2012 reference, which was at the time the most viral video in YouTube history, non-music video. The same movement, which unfortunately didn't amount to much, with Joseph Kony still being at large. Also, the creator of Kony 2012 had a meltdown on the street completely butt naked. Anyways, we open up with Walk Off the Earth, which were featured in the previous rewind, doing a guitar rendition of, you guessed it, Gangnam Style, with Psy himself popping in to bring us right to the actual YouTube Rewind video. Psy being the first artist in YouTube history to have a music video reach 1 billion views in 2012 alone. It makes sense that he took over as the soundtrack for this year's Rewind. And this is the only YouTube Rewind where they had the artist actually make a custom version of their song with Gangnam Man, with Psy saying Rewind YouTube style.
Rewind YouTube style.
And for all you K-pop haters, this was your first introduction to K-pop. Let me just tell you how much motion Psy has. Psy has been famous in Korea for the past 3 decades and has been a legend long before Gangnam Style ever came out. And this man still has motion. Just for reference, this is one of his concerts. He released another song right after Gangnam Style the following year, which also ended up getting 1 billion views as well. A song with Snoop Dogg, a song with Suga from BTS, where it was an honor for the BTS member who was at the peak of his career to do a collab with Psy. This rewind mostly follows the structure of the actual Gangnam Style music video, with the dancers in that video being replaced by the biggest creators in YouTube in 2012. You got the guy that played Obama in Epic Rap Battles, Mystery Guitar Man, and I think that's a Daystorm Power. So key takeaway is that YouTubers just did not have the staying power back then that they do now. For example, Logan Paul has been relevant longer than the Annoying Orange. Do with that information as you will. You can tell they kind of didn't know what they were doing with this concept at the time, and that's really the charm of it. Now, is it true that I cannot name 90% of the YouTubers in this rewind? Yes. But Annoying Orange is dressed up as the guy who jumped from space, Felix Baumgartner, well in a tuxedo. Something tells me that YouTube asked for that clip for something else, but changed their mind. And I can't confirm this. Like, what do you expect me to do? DM the Annoying Orange and ask what their actual role in YouTube Rewind was? It was just such a simpler time. The community felt so tight-knit. Even though it most likely wasn't. Like, do you think Daystorm Power is interacting with Nico and Sam from Corridor Digital? I don't know, but this rewind really felt like YouTube was like this giant studio and everyone's just an actor reminiscing on the best moments that YouTube created, which is kind of the whole concept of YouTube Rewind, isn't it? All rewinds are also an unfortunate reminder of how many YouTubers just stopped creating content on the platform, whether that be through burnout, through cancellations, just being bored, making too much money that they don't know what to do with. And that just makes it feel really bittersweet. They had Jenna Marbles in this, who in 2020 decided to quit YouTube after some wrong decisions in her past came to light. And you end with Ryan Higa, who also left YouTube because he just felt burnt out from the algorithm constantly wanting more and more and him not feeling his craft anymore. A large majority of the YouTubers in this either quit or pivoted to an adjacent kind of industry. Or even worse, they fell into obscurity, which is just how this cruel internet works. There's still a lot of cool things to talk about with this one, like the fact that the VFX side of YouTube got such a huge part in this rewind. Like the first rewind, and you have Corridor, and you have Freddie Wong. The bus scene is really well done, with all these creators recreating that bus scene from Gangnam Style. And the whole recreation of the Call Me Maybe music video was also just really cool. Like, this was a pretty cool concept, like taking music videos and kind of replacing the music video actors with YouTubers. The ending scene really ties us all together, with all the creators you saw in the video that were physically present doing a spoof of the ending scene of Gangnam Style, and it's here that you can really see how tiny the YouTube community was back then. Just like this tiny neat little time capsule that YouTube created that didn't even get all that much hate, all things considered. But they ended up deleting this one anyways, which will always irk me. Like, this is one of the few times that they actually did something right with the whole rewind concept. And it just sucks that this one had to be nuked along with all the others.
The secret of the fox.
Yeah, so the production value went through the roof with 2013. No, like the difference between 2012 and 2013 is literally night and day. The music itself, instead of being a cobbled together mashup, was actually done by DJ Earworm, who, if you don't know, was doing the mega viral United States of Pop series where he would take most of the most popular songs in that year and make a giant mega mix of all these songs. And to have him do the mix for YouTube Rewind was kind of a no-brainer, honestly. Luckily, with the 2013 one, when I downloaded this one off the YouTube service, it did come with a description, so I can actually see what songs are used in this one. With the main one being What Does the Fox Say?, which was the European answer to the sheer absurdity of Gangnam Style. But in all honesty, this song is a banger. Not saying that Gangnam Style isn't, but the bridge of What Does the Fox Say actually makes you start ascending. I wish I could play you some, but YouTube will just inevitably nuke my channel, and I'm also kind of scared to put the rewinds in here as well, but we'll see. Also, this part of the music video where the old guy is just reading to this kid just still cracks me up for whatever reason. I'm like smooth brained, I think. Again, multiple YouTubers that no one talks about anymore. We open up with Kid President, whose whole claim to fame was acting like Obama, but 4 foot tall. I mean, he was the most viral person on YouTube at the time, so it makes sense why he was opening this, but we quickly swap to the actual YouTubers in the video. Opening with Ryan Higa. This rewind is so much more complex than the last year's rewind. We have so many different set pieces, like recreating Blurred Lines, which was a choice, recreating Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus without actually using Wrecking Ball in the rewind, but rather Psy's second most popular song, Gentleman. Jenna Marbles, Epic Mealtime, Rhett and Link, Tobuscus. Again, can I name every YouTuber in this? No. They got Jimmy Fallon again, which really did cement that YouTube was just as much for the late night hosts as it was for the users on the platform, which did end up becoming one of the biggest pain points of YouTube Rewind towards the later half. The main theme for this rewind was, you guessed it, What Does the Fox Say? With them recreating the main set of that whole music video. What was the obsession with animal memes in 2013? Horse masks, bear dancers, goats screaming. For those saying that we didn't have brain rot back then, this is your brain rot. We go from What Does the Fox Say right to the Harlem Shake, without even inviting Filthy Frank, the creator of the Harlem Shake, which some would argue was because of how controversial he was. But there's gotta be at least a few pedophiles in this video, no? Why the fuck is the warp zone here? Anyways, we go from this meme-heavy fun section to a kind of inspirational section in the second half, all scored to Macklemore's Can't Hold Us. And this is the section that I love the most. Has all my favorite YouTubers like the Slow-Mo guys. You got Smosh, Freddie Wong, Corridor. Like this whole section is like what I was watching in 2013 on YouTube boiled down. And I just find that so cool. Like the music starts ramping up to an 11 with all the songs just going back and forth and back and forth. Like DJ Earworm really knew what he was doing this year. And to end this rewind, the biggest YouTuber and the only gaming representation in 2013 was PewDiePie, getting this whole section for himself, which is kind of poetic in a way. It's like a passing of the baton, because at this point the algorithm started favoring gaming content and longer videos more heavily than all these skit-based like vlogging and comedy YouTubers. So like overall, the 2013 rewind is also pretty like really good. Actually, they captured everything that they needed to do in 2013. There are probably some exclusions. I wasn't that big of a YouTube user in 2013, so I really do not know what creators they left out. But what they do have are some pretty high tier, like top of the line creators that most of them, well, some of them are still talked about to this day.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
I think this is where the cracks started to form for YouTube Rewind. Just from the mix alone, you can kind of tell that this whole concept is getting way too bloated. And it's like they're biting off way more than they can chew. Because right from the get-go, it sounds like way more of a mess than the previous years. 2014 was the year of trap music, with the main theme of this one being DJ Snake's Turn Down for What. At least they start off with PewDiePie, who by this point was the #1 most subscribed to channel on YouTube. But compared to this milestone, he didn't really have a lot of screen time in this rewind. We start off by recreating the Turn Down for What music video, where the guy breaks through the roof of an apartment to start dry humping everything in his sight. But unlike in the music video where he falls into an apartment, PewDiePie drops into a classroom. That is another choice that they made. Okay, so it's not a random classroom, it's a spoof of Iggy Azalea's fancy music video, the classroom from that. But like I said, this year just feels super bloated. You can see this in things like where they spoofed the selfie music video by the Chainsmokers so that they could green screen as many YouTubers as they could in this tiny section, and cross another thing off their checklist for a number of YouTubers. They started to incorporate a lot more international YouTubers in this one, most notably Hikaken, the guy who did that one Super Mario beatbox. Do you know what beatboxers have to do these days to gain any sort of relevancy? Back then, the bar used to be so low for beatboxers. Not to say it's not impressive, because I couldn't make a single sound that this guy is doing from his mouth. But like the videos back then were literally just straight recordings with no editing at all. In this one, they've really lost the whole community aspect of Rewind. Like obviously it would be impossible to get this many YouTubers into a single spot. That would be the world's biggest logistical nightmare. But the disconnect is so apparent in this video. It's at this point where the concept of distilling a whole year into one single video was turning out to be a big problem. They swapped between all these viral moments so fast that you need to go frame by frame to catch all the references that they're doing. Like the scene with Lily Singh is literally like half a second long, where she's pulling pants on without using her hands, which has to be a reference to some video, but I don't know what that is, and I was trying to search for it and realized that I might be put on a list. But it also has some really cool moments, like Smosh having an extended section where they're spoofing the first Kiss viral video, only to be interrupted by the Ice Bucket Challenge that was done by Epic Rap Battles. And then they started Chain just like the real Ice Bucket Challenge, which was a really cool way to tie this section together and actually flow through all these different creators. It was also this year where notably Ryan Higa was absent. I mean, he was a part of the first two, and randomly he just wasn't a part of this one. And he did talk about it on stream once where YouTube kind of duped him into coming to do a section for YouTube Rewind, and ever since then he never really wanted to do Rewind again. Like they just did not listen to him. I bet they needed him just to say, oh, we got Ryan Higa in this year's Rewind. Why have the Fine Bros been in every single one of these? This one also really shafted the gaming community by having a whole gaming section where random people are just miming playing Flappy Bird. I guess there was just so much stuff that happened this year, because like at some points I'm not even able to follow along with what they're trying to show. It all crescendos into arguably the biggest song of that year, Let It Go from Disney's Frozen. You can see a formula start to form with this one, which follows 3 acts of starting with a crazy moment, crazy viral meme spam in the middle, and then an inspirational section in the end. Something to really bring home the "we are a community" sentiment that YouTube was still trying to peddle. Looking through the ending with all the YouTubers listed, a lot of the names, I couldn't even tell who they were even if I wanted to. You have Hola Soy Herman, who I remember watching a few videos of when this Rewind came out because I was really confused at how this guy made it into Rewind. He ceased uploading, amassing 44 million subscribers and just leaving his channel for dead. Oh look, he has a second channel listed on his page. Let's see if he's uploading there. Troye Sivan was in here, which is pretty sick, knowing how big he was on YouTube before he became an even bigger artist. But again, by this time, there were just so many niches and subsections in YouTube that it just becomes hard to condense all of these people into one video. Like, it's a good rewind, and they got how it should have ended to do a little ending section, which was pretty cool, but you can see how people would start hating on this format. Even with how many creators were in this year's Rewind, you are bound to miss a creator who has a large enough audience to stir up hate and cause a dislike bomb on this Rewind. There was just no winning with this format. But still, just as a concept, this is really cool. Just being able to watch a single video, which gives you a gist of what that whole year was like, which I think is a pretty neat concept, and the 2014 Rewind did end up doing pretty well, albeit, you know, the cracks are forming.
Watch me whip, now watch me intergalactic.
Another budget increase has hit the YouTube Rewind. Is it safe to say that we have officially entered the millennial era of YouTube Rewind? Everything about this screams millennial. Everything about this screams $50 burgers, truffle fries, and 2 bros that just had a dream. Where do I even begin with this one? They were actually able to reduce the intense chaos that was in the 2014 Rewind somehow, and had more than 3 acts in this one. And this is a welcome change because they did the same formula for the previous 3 years and it just started falling apart. But man, these song choices. Pop was going through a very weird phase this year, and I was just not into it then, and I'm still not into it now. They ditched DJ Earworm for this mix, which was for the better because of how bad the last year's mix was. And this mix turned out way better than last year's mix, so I think they made a good choice. Compared to the previous years, we have lost a lot of YouTubers. Obviously, YouTube is changing and the landscape is constantly changing and rotating between characters, but in just the last 3 years, it seemed like the entire creator landscape completely shifted. YouTube was almost always in the mainstream, but this one really feels like YouTube was finally the front and center pillar of society. The set pieces in this one are honestly really well made, and the creator choices are in fact choices. We have it open with Lily Singh, who had less than a second in the last one, to then in this year have a whole section dedicated to her. And then we follow this with a section based on the clothing through generation trend, all scored to Watch Me Whip and Nene. And this was hosted by Jesse and his wife, the host of Prank v Prank. Yeah, so they aren't pranking each other anymore. They put all the Latin representation in a bus in the desert. They made James Corden drive that bus. Miranda sings. All these YouTubers here recreating the viral Shia LaBeouf video. Here's a clip of what he's doing these days.
Yeah, I just wondered, it's like the biggest news story in the world for a couple of days was Epstein.
If you got no life, you mean you're just sitting in a hole all day. You're not, chasing ass and getting at it. Motherfuckers are in the street, they don't give a fuck about this stupid shit.
Now, really the best part about this Rewind is that the gaming community finally got some real recognition. Mind you, gaming was the biggest part of YouTube by this point. They showed so much genuine love to the gaming community in this one, with admittedly this one tiny section in this larger video. You got Markiplier, Captain Sparkle's Game Theory, the Smosh Games cast, and having it all themed after Bear 5 the game. Up until now, the only constant between all these rewinds is really iJustine. I know that sounds like it's out of left field, but for some reason she has been in every YouTube Rewind. I never understood why she's been YouTube's golden child, because she wasn't ever really one of the biggest YouTubers. Like, obviously she's a big YouTuber, but if there's anything YouTube related outside of YouTube, she's always there. Any community event, anything where YouTube is having like a gathering meetup, she's always there. We have PewDiePie show up with Zoella to celebrate 10 years of YouTube, which, yes, this is the 10th anniversary of YouTube. I always found it weird why PewDiePie was paired up with Zoella instead of, you know, his wife, who had a humongous channel of her own. But I digress. This is the best portion of this rewind, as it just walks us through the biggest trends of the last 10 years. Which my friend pointed out that the best part about this rewind is everything that is not about 2015. And that's kind of the tragedy of it all, isn't it? The bones, the concept of this rewind works, but it's like they kept getting in their own way and showing us what could have been, and instead they just fucking shat on a video. And with doing so much, this video really turned out to be a nothing burger, except the gaming section. Like most people remember 2016, the year itself, way more fondly than 2015. There's always this meme going around about how 2016 was the last good year in the world, and it reflects with this rewind as well. Like, it's nothing happens in this one. Which, speaking of,
Damn, Daniel!
I'm gonna fucking shoot myself in the head, holy shit. You know, I can get behind this one. This might be the nostalgia playing a big part in this, but I really cannot see why this rewind was hated. I can't read the old comments, but I really did not see what is so wrong with this rewind. And all the rewinds that I've been watching till now, honestly. Because yes, they might have some cringe moments and they left out maybe a creator or two, but I don't think that warrants this whole concept being panned so much by the audience. If anything, rewatching these has just made me nostalgic more than anything. And I guess they were starting to pander to the mainstream a lot more, but what do you want them to do? Let me actually tell you what YouTube Rewind actually is. It wasn't a celebration of YouTube first and foremost. What its primary goal became was to become a giant media pack, so that they could sell this platform to advertisers. So they can go to these giant conglomerates and be like, hey, this is what YouTube is. Want to invest millions of dollars? So that's why most of these creators are just the cream of the crop, the most unproblematic people on the platform. They aren't here to talk about any difficult times or hardships that the platform faced, because no advertiser wants to see that. And the byproduct of this is that we get this neat little package that, no matter how cringe or out of touch it may end up being, does end up giving us a glimpse of the good parts of that year. Now, unfortunately, that good part of 2016 did include the damn Daniel meme, so maybe I should stop talking. The title for this YouTube Rewind was the Ultimate 2016 Challenge, because at this point, YouTube was all about challenges. The Mannequin Challenge, the Bottle Flip Challenge, the Running Man Challenge, which effectively turned this video into the biggest and best representation of millennial core. Now, is it true that I still can't recognize a majority of the YouTubers in this, and that a surprising amount of YouTubers in this probably like children? Yes. It opens up with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Wait, no. It opens up with Dwayne "The Rock," the Hobbs Shaw, the Tooth Fairy Johnson, which is some very unfortunate foreshadowing. It's got all of our favorite parts of 2016, except Harambe.
Okay, have you ever heard of Harambe?
No.
You've never heard of Harambe?
No.
Okay.
We got Pokemon Go. We got hydraulic presses. A reference to that one girl group Camila Cabello was a part of. Okay, but I legitimately cannot recognize most of the people in this. With the older ones, I guess YouTube was way more condensed. That's why you could end up recognizing more people. But another problem that's creeping up on this format by this time is that they just shove most of the creators into the background of every shot and just go, look guys, this creator was also a part of this. I didn't even realize Jax Films was in this video until we got the creator list at the end. Then I remember that he released unreleased footage of him doing an Irish jig, and then never went back to Rewind after that. I wonder why. Like, literally in the ending credits, some of the shots they use of these YouTubers are like a maximum of like 3 to 4 frames long. That's how little screen time they got. Hey, at least we got Jacksepticeye in this one, even though he's just a random face cam in the corner. The distribution of the creators is oftentimes very confusing. Like, why is the Pen Pineapple Apple Pen guy getting so much screen time as compared to I don't know, the biggest creator on your platform? Why the fuck is this blonde guy on my screen so much? Who are you? And we somehow regressed with the gaming representation, with them just having one shot in total. They got Vanoss Gaming, which is kind of cool, I guess. The set pieces are admittedly pretty cool in this one. It all feels very high budget, but why was Lily Singh given such a large spot in this one? Like, I don't get it. Like, I guess she was pretty famous at this point, but was it to the point where you had to pause your whole rewind just to introduce her to this video? Was this really the best South Asian representation they could find? Is this pandering? Is this what they call pandering? And they had this whole recreation of that very famous Kanye West photo. And my only takeaway from this is, like, can you guys just shave your armpits? Like, it's actually uncomfortable how many of them just have hairy pits. Sorry, I really cannot stop thinking about Jack's films being paired with all these mainstream, like, I don't know, general audience YouTubers and just doing an Irish jig. Can someone get Lily Singh out of my face? Why is Unbox Therapy in this water room in just a hoodie? Also, did you notice one more thing? The Fine Bros weren't in this one, after being in every single one previously. Yeah, so I guess trying to copyright the concept of reacting blew up in their face. So yeah, fuck them. I don't like them. They ended with a spoof of Carpool Karaoke. Like, please stop forcing me to see James Corden. Like, why was this guy everywhere? I don't want to see James Corden. We're only at 2016 and it's just too much going on already, man. Like, it's literally too much. I feel like at this point, they just lost all sense of community. Like, it's all gone. I can't really put my finger on it, but most of the creators seem fake. Like, at this point, YouTubers were on top of the world. The adpocalypse didn't happen yet, so AdSense was at an all-time high. Every creator was busy building their empire, while YouTube themselves are trying to cement themselves as an entertainment juggernaut. But in lieu of all of this, they ended up losing their sense of community, which was one of the main driving forces of the concept of Rewind. You see all these creators recreating these set pieces, these memes, doing these viral dances in this 2016 Rewind, but something about the way they did it in 2012 and 13th just was way more authentic feeling. Again, I wish there was a way of checking, but I don't think that this one was as hated as the latter YouTube Rewinds, and it didn't really have a reason to be hated, if I'm being honest. My main gripes with this are certain creators that I just do not like, or the really odd distribution of screen time. But overall, this is still a better send-off to the year than the 2015 one. Now, yes, once again, did it forget one of the biggest moments of the year, Harambe, and probably 20 other things? Yeah, but we don't talk about that. YouTube is great. It all works. Everything is good. Listen, I swear I miss these, and I don't just hate them. Like, I miss the concept of YouTube Rewind, the event that was YouTube Rewind. The concept of recapping a year into 5 to 6 minutes could be really cool, but their take on it really leaves a lot to be desired. And this format was starting to become outdated by this point.
Hey dog, you get some ice cream? Only a spoonful.
Do you remember Vine? Do you remember Viners? Do you remember how, for some weird reason, this 6-second platform somehow created the biggest internet celebrities that are still relevant to this day? Well, in 2017, Vine had been shut down. And all the refugees from Vine started flocking to YouTube. By the time this rewind is being made, the migration had been completed. The migration was so successful that this rewind opens up with Liza Koshy and Lele Pons, who I believe does not have a soul behind her eyes. And if that wasn't enough, more late night hosts. Yes, by this point, YouTube Rewind hatred was fully in motion. That train is leaving the station as we speak. You open up YouTube Rewind with 3 people who are not known for being YouTubers, and you wonder why your video is getting hated. Like, just read the room for a second. But I digress. Where the 2016 Rewind was using a lot of memes to create the video, 2017 just became the meme itself. Just hearing the first guitar song of Despacito really made me chuckle and remember Despacito too. I can see why this is hated. And I hate that this concept of YouTube Rewind had been bastardized by this point. Because once again, this idea is cool, but they really started to miss their mark at so many points. Like, look at how many creators literally just get flown by just in rapid succession to get to KSI and a fidget spinner. They got Despacito. They got Ayo and Teo, the people who made the Rolly song, just there for 2 seconds, even though that was one of the most viral songs of that year. Like, how is any fan supposed to get happy to see their creator in the YouTube Rewind when they're in the video for 2 seconds? You got Marshmello and Vanoss, or a guy dressed up in an owl mask. Because I really doubt Mr. Evan Fong would have agreed to do this rewind. And this really kind of shows the mentality of the production company behind the YouTube Rewind. Because when they probably got the list of creators, they thought, oh, these two have a mask. Put them on a beach and make them dance together. And you remember all those Vine refugees? Just look at how much screen time someone like Dan TDM got versus Logan and Jake Paul. Once again, the distribution of screen time just feels so off. You would at least expect them to give a bigger portion of this to the OG creators, the ones who built your platform. But alas, the balance between respecting your creators versus pandering to advertisers means that decisions like this are made. Why would you advertise Dan TDM, a guy who's been on your platform for quite a few years, but has a steady rise to fame, as opposed to Logan and Jake Paul, who got 10 million subscribers in like a year? Which one looks better on paper? Unfortunately. Also, they gave way too much time to the shooting star meme. I guess it was an easy way to cram like 50 creators into a portion of the video. Like, it's literally the longest section of the YouTube Rewind, which then abruptly goes into like the somber, oh, this is the bad moments of our year. And this is a first for any kind of rewind. And it was just not done in a tasteful way. You have footage of humanitarian crises with a YouTuber in the shooting star meme flying away on the side. They 100% could have put this at the end of the video as like an inspirational message to uplift the ending and give it like a heartfelt ending, but they decided to put it between the shooting star meme and Logan and Jake Paul. It really is funny how much people hated the Viners coming over to YouTube. People were treating it like it was some sort of gang war or turf war, like when the British invaded. Like, why wouldn't YouTube get behind all these Viners who were bringing some of the most engagement the platform had ever seen? And most of these Viners ended up becoming the biggest creators on the platform anyways. Like, it was a shift in the creator ecosystem, and obviously change is hard to get behind, but the hate these guys were getting was otherworldly. The section after this little "our world is healing" section is actually much better than the first half of the video. They gave these creators a lot more time to breathe. And actually they gave creators like Dan and Phil a lot more screen time than I thought they would. They started flowing through these memes and set pieces in a very creative fashion, with the whole "floor is lava" section. Also, Poppy is in this video. Yeah, the same Poppy who is now one of the biggest metal artists in the world. Now, with all these new creators, all these cool set pieces, and all the distasteful parts, where's PewDiePie? Oh, yeah, this wasn't the best time to be a PewDiePie fan. YouTube had basically wiped their hands with him. Because for some reason, for these few years, he just could not catch a break. He was a major reason of why the adpocalypse even happened, which, if you don't know, was when YouTube changed the minimum requirements for the YouTube Partner Program and started demonetizing a significant amount of videos for a myriad of reasons, like violence, hate speech, being any sort of risque. Because of PewDiePie's various controversies that constantly fell on him, he lost his ties with Disney Maker Studios, which in and of itself got quickly dissolved a few years later, But he also lost his own independent studio called Revel Mode, and YouTube started acting like he just doesn't exist when he was still the biggest creator on your platform. No matter my thoughts on PewDiePie, from an objective point of view, the infamous Fiverr video and the bridge incident meant that anything even remotely close to the mainstream and like legacy media did not want to come close to this man. which did not help with the dislike situation on this video. The core YouTube audience really did not like this video, and there are quite a few reasons for that. It really felt like the hate that YouTube Rewind was getting was started to precede it, and instead of being excited for the next Rewind, people would just get ready to find any way to hate it. And Lord knows there wasn't a shortage of reasons. A lot of people were calling it out of touch of the community, which is fair, but realistically, how would you please every crowd that uses YouTube? In a single video, you can't. And instead of figuring out a solution, they just stopped trying. At least you finally had representation from the animation community, and the music medley is really good too. Now, if you want to talk about out of touch, we are finally at the magnum opus of out of touch. The single most disliked video in YouTube history, forever cemented as the most disliked video in YouTube history. And the sole reason I believe they took dislikes off the platform, 2018. So, I think the hate for YouTube Rewind 2018 was so widespread that at some point people stopped hating the actual video itself and started just hating on Will Smith. Like, it was hated. I don't think I can even describe the level of hate this video was getting. It's like the internet stopped and just stopped doing everything else just to shit on this video. And in YouTube's quest later on to make people forget that this was indeed the most disliked video in YouTube's history by a country mile, they inadvertently cemented this year's Rewind as the most disliked video on YouTube forever. You might be asking yourself, why? Like with all the Rewinds, they all had a level of hate surrounding them. But this one was on another level. Well, basically every frame of this has turned into a meme. On a more macro level, this Rewind dropped when millennials were becoming uncool as the Gen Z crowd was getting older. And what made it even worse was that people even older than millennials were the ones bankrolling and directing this garbage. Meaning you have these people doing weird takes on Fortnite and Mark Ass Brownlee for an audience that was starting to enter its teen phase, which found anything and everything as cringe. Maybe 2018 just wasn't the best year for YouTube moments. This is the only Rewind that didn't start immediately with the biggest song of the year and actually tried to innovate on the formula for once. They start with, yes, Mark Ass Brownlee and Ninja driving a Fortnite battle bus. And I can't do this anymore. I gave all the other Rewinds a chance, you know, like they all had charm somewhere. Whether that be how they recreate the memes, the mashup, seeing all your creators in one video. But this one, man. This is the only YouTube Rewind where I physically cringed. I watched all the other Rewinds like 3 or 4 times over to find some nuances in the video. But this one in particular, the way they start pandering in the middle of this Rewind for like a solid 2 minutes. You know the old saying of show don't tell? Well, the production team apparently had never heard of that because they had these YouTubers say these pre-ChatGPT but very ChatGPT sounding lines in the most deadpan way ever.
To everyone who proved it's okay to talk about mental health this year and showing their viewers that it's okay to go through tough times like that.
Forget the YouTubers not believing in themselves, it's like the script didn't believe in itself. I'm not kidding when I say I skipped past this part. It was that bad. Now, don't get your panties in a bunch. All the things they say about representation and the strides the world took at the time to become more accepting is all stuff that I believe in. Because Lord knows how the world is regressing in that aspect these days. But did we really need to have Gabby Hanna go? I could go on and on about the mistakes they made with this Rewind. I wish I had anything nice to say about this or anything to say that hasn't already been said about this Rewind. There's no nuance I can find in this. Even if there are small pockets that I like about it, I'm not even kidding, that whole section in the middle really ruins this video. And it sucks so much because as a BTS fan, this was the first time they had BTS in Rewind. Even though they were the biggest K-pop act before 2018, the one time they get to be in a Rewind, and it's with Casey Neistat going K-pop! Now imagine you make something so bad, so horrible, that you just scrap a whole tradition. Was there really no one at YouTube headquarters that could have brainstormed a way out of this box they put themselves in? And maybe figure out another format or a repackage or anything for this? I don't know, something simple like separating rewinds into categories or separating it into countries, like a gaming rewind. Or a continent-specific rewind, like here's the America rewind, here's the Asia rewind. Because it was already starting to feel very bloated way before 2018 ever came along. And to just keep building upon that formula every year, the dam had to break at some point. And it broke in an insane fashion. To the point where in 2019, they literally start out with, hey, we messed up. For 2019, they reverted back to their top 10 list format, which all things considered was for the best, since it's nothing you can mess with. No politics, no pandering, no having advertisers tell you what to do. It's just pure data. And it's not even a boring top 10. It's actually a really well-made little video. I wish they could have at least kept this going if they weren't gonna do the giant collab videos anymore. But for whatever reason, people dislike the hell out of this one as well. And I can't tell why, because I can't read the comments of it anymore. Even though this is the first time since the 2016 Rewind that they acknowledged PewDiePie's existence, which I thought was a really cool moment. I remember actually being so shocked seeing PewDiePie being mentioned by anything YouTube related. This is the same company that axed a multi-million-dollar YouTube original with PewDiePie because of his controversies. So kudos to them for mentioning the biggest creator on their platform. But I guess the executives realized that there's no way they can salvage YouTube Rewind. The brand itself, the moniker of Rewind, had just been tarnished, and there was nothing they could do that would make people not hate it anymore. So they ended up just axing the whole series. On a random day on Twitter, they just tweeted out that YouTube Rewind is no more, which was really bittersweet, especially for me. Obviously there are people celebrating, you know, hate bandwagoners, whatever you want to call them. But like I keep reiterating in this video, the concept of Rewind is something so nice. Having a little video you can watch every year that's like, I wonder what it felt like to be in 2015. And you watch the 2015 Rewind and you get a little glimpse into that year. I think it's a pretty cool concept. Like, that was really not the outcome that I expected. I thought they would at least keep the top 10 style going, because obviously it's not as big of a money pit as the other collab videos was. But alas, there were a few attempts by the creators themselves to kind of rectify the issue with YouTube Rewind. Most notably, I think, was PewDiePie's take on the 2018 Rewind.
Somebody touch my spaghetti!
Like, it starts off taking a dig at Will Smith's very interesting performance in the 2018 Rewind. And it covers the most important part of any year of the modern internet. It's memes. He got help from Flying Kitty, Grande, Dolan Dark, three of the most influential meme creators on YouTube at the time. And I'll admit, looking back at it now, it is very cringy stuff. Stuff like Ugandan Knuckles, who touched my spaghetti. They did surgery on a grape. Please, you try reading the script. I don't know. But there were a few bangers like Burger King foot lettuce, the "You So Fucking Precious" meme, and Tide Pods. Remember that? Tide Pods? Why did we do that? No, sorry, I wasn't a part of that. Why did you do that? He then transitions to another dig at the 2018 Rewind and doing the whole let's read what the comments have to say and just showing all the comments shitting on YouTube Rewind 2018. This was a glorified meme mashup rather than a rewind. looking back at it, it's less of like obviously a rewind and more of like, here, fuck YouTube Rewind 2018. But despite that, it was still a better representation of whatever YouTube was doing there. But what really sets this apart is something that YouTube was too afraid to do. Actually talk about the bad moments of that year. Not in just some like, here's a little snippet and the world should do better, but in more of a, here are the biggest people we lost this year. Such as Avicii, Steven Hillenburg, Stan Lee, and many others. Like it genuinely felt like this crack team treated it with way more respect than the team at YouTube did. It managed to fit it in the middle of the video and still somehow keep a modicum of respect for a section like this. It's kind of what YouTube Rewind lost along the way. Actual heart and soul. You can throw as much money as you want to a giant production, but if no one on the production actually adds that human element to it, it will never capture any sort of magic. There are a lot of goofy things that happen, and there are a lot of tragedies that we can't just ignore. And up until 2017, mind you, YouTube did not even talk about a single tragic thing in the world. And they barely did in 2017, and then 2018's Rewind was just tragic itself. The video proceeds with more memes before ending with a, this video is not available in your country joke. On account of Article 13. Remember that whole debacle? God, remember Article 13 and the FCC chairman at the time? Remember him trying to be so relatable? I really wonder what he's doing now. PewDiePie also did a 2019 version, and then he never did a 2020 version, with Mr. Beast taking up the 2020 Rewind, but then he also stopped. Even the creators kind of realized that this format just doesn't work. You can't represent everyone in a single video. The reason PewDiePie's Rewind worked is that it wasn't really a YouTube Rewind. It was a, hey, this is the things that happened in my circle of the internet Rewind. And that is much easier to do than trying to rewind a whole website, which once again had 2 billion daily active users at the time. Also, the soundtrack for the 2018 Rewind was really, really good.
Rewind time, everybody.
It is Reddit tier humor. It's still pretty, like that song was pretty good. Do you feel like the YouTube corporation is just distant now? Like, yes, even when rewinds were a thing, YouTube was a soulless corporation whose only focus was profits above everything. But there was at least some form of interaction with the viewers and the creators. Every time the Rewind would come out, they would change their whole homepage to advertise that year's Rewind and celebrate the ending of the year and celebrate what all happened that year. I remember sitting in the waiting rooms for the premiere of YouTube Rewind and how everyone would just be excited in the chat room. But it just feels like YouTube is way more distant now. It really doesn't feel like any humans work there anymore. They stopped having any sort of community events, any sort of communication with their viewer base. We somehow managed to bully YouTube into hiding. And the hate wasn't unjustified. Like I literally said, I could not sit through the 2018 Rewind without physically cringing. But it just sucks that the hate was so much that YouTube decided that it will just cease any interaction with its community and scrap the whole Rewind idea entirely. And now more than ever, they put an AI shield between the users and support, the creators and support. Go ahead, try to contact YouTube for anything. I recently got into the partner program and I had a question about one of my older videos and there was no way I could get to a human representative. Granted, I'm not that big of a YouTuber, but I'm sure anyone that's not a legacy creator is feeling the same problem. And even though I still miss it, I really do miss YouTube Rewinds. Just the thought of having something to look forward to at the end of the year, whether that be good or bad, was a really exciting feeling. But it's like they kept shooting themselves in the foot year after year after year. It wasn't just the users that felt like idiots every subsequent year of Rewind. They kept leaving out some of the biggest creators on the platform that in all honesty weren't even problematic at that time. Why wasn't the FaZe Clan ever a part of this? Why was H3 never a part of the 2016 or 17 Rewind when they were at their peak? And even if Filthy Frank was a controversial creator, how could they not even reference him in the 2014 Rewind when he was the literal creator of the Harlem Shake? If anything, Rewind became a precursor for the times to come for YouTube, where very quickly, as early as 2015, they started pandering more towards the advertisers than the actual user base or creators on the platform. Which the creators and the users are the main reason your platform even exists. I, like many others, use YouTube every day, and I do pay for premium. You can call me a shill, you can call me a pansy, whatever you want, because 1 month I let my subscription lapse, and on mobile, that shit was completely unusable. The amount of ads that you get on mobile now is actually diabolical, and I don't know how they get away with this. And guess what? They don't have to use a single dime of all this extra ad revenue they're getting to blow on some YouTube Rewind anymore, which would end up just being hated anyways if they just stuck to their same formula. I don't think they'll ever bring it back. It does not work and it will never work. Every day, thousands upon thousands of people join the internet for the first time, view YouTube for the first time. When your daily active users are about 1/4 of the entire world's population, you cannot satisfy even a single subsection or niche audience on YouTube. The cost of getting everyone connected to each other was ironically getting rid of the one thing that let YouTube users feel a bit of community, at least for a little moment. Thank you for watching. Get out of here.